L is an amazing Death Note character, but this is why L could not win. I made a previous video similar to this called Should L Have Won? And I'm gonna be talking about similar things to what I did in that video. So let's start off with this. L did reveal himself too early, and the way he did was wrong. There were some benefits to his actions, like sort of closing down on Light, getting to know Light, but he should have waited longer and been more cautious. He should have possibly waited longer to see if Kira would have given himself out in some way, put more security cameras in Light's room, or even if he got to the point where he really did suspect that Light out of everyone was most likely Kira, he should have hid in Light's room and caught Light in the act. That would probably be the best way for him to catch Light and know for sure that he was Kira. He was working with Light's father, so Light's father would allow him to go hide in Light's room, and then once Light's in there, and let's say Light's using the Death Note, L can come out and catch him in the act. And this should be the way that Light met L, in a way like this, not somewhere out in public where it's kind of weird and things are unclear. Immediately put the pressure on Light. Be in his personal space, in his room. This is how you actually properly close down on Light. And L should have got someone to do some detective work and watch Light everywhere he went when he wasn't in his house, like a PI. The few times Light did go outside and write some names down with a piece of the Death Note paper or do things outside of the house, this would have been a great way to still know for sure what's going on with Light. I know there was a PI working for the FBI, Ray Penber, who was watching Light, but L should have hired one or got someone to do this private investigator work as well. And he should have got this happening the same time he got the security cameras, because Light might go outside, and since he knows there's security cameras, start writing on a piece of the notebook paper while outside. Also, if he was to put more cameras in Light's room, he should put them in different positions and different angles of things they couldn't see that well before, like maybe getting a better view of Light's desk. Because I remember one angle and it was pointed at Light's desk, but it wasn't that close. Also, Light was pretty much in front of his desk, so you couldn't really see that well what Light was doing on his desk. When L went out there and met Light for the first time, it was in a public place. Sure, maybe this would work on someone who's not as intelligent as Light or not as prepared as Light, but Light's not a normal person. A normal individual might feel better this way and less suspected because it's not as a big deal, it seems, if it's not as much in a personal space or it's not as much of a in-depth encounter like being brought down to a police station and getting interrogated. This was just meeting in a public place and him revealing himself to Light. But like I mentioned, if he had first met Light in his own personal space, this would really put the pressure on Light, and he gave too much away to Light. I recently watched a video of someone responding to my previous video, and they said that L's move to reveal himself to him was smart, and even Light thought it was smart as well. Yes, there were benefits to L's move, like making sure Light couldn't read his name, but we all know how that went. L did still end up getting his name written and ended up dying. It seems L didn't even realize or consider anything supernatural going on until he found out Shinigamis were real. But the entire time, any intelligent person would question if something supernatural could possibly be going on because of how Kira is killing people. L should have handled this more carefully because Kira was clearly a very great threat. L was pretty much finished once he revealed himself to Light the way he did, because he wasn't going to be able to catch Light in this way and prove that he's Kira, even though it's a great way to get to know Light better and try to make him slip up and see if he will act suspiciously. Light did not. Maybe some people will act suspiciously and situations like these or slip up, but Light did not. Because I believe if L did things a little bit differently, he could have caught Light, or at least it was more likely that he would have caught Light. He needed to just close down more on his suspect first. Like, waiting a little bit longer to, number one, interact with Light and reveal himself to Light. Keeping security cameras in his room, getting a detective to watch him everywhere he goes, working with Light's father in ways that will benefit them, since Light's father literally owns the house, and L getting in Light's personal space and confronting him head on, putting the pressure on Light, possibly catching him in the act, but not doing it too soon, and when he does, making Light feel like he's been caught. The way I have said for L to beat Light is a far more likely way that L could win. And imagine, L's just hanging out in Light's room, he's hanging out in his entire house, he's in his personal space. Not only can Light not write L's name, but at the same time, he's got all this extra pressure, and it's far more likely that L's gonna catch him. So instead of just having security cameras like they did, keep doing that and place more in different positions. Get a private investigator to watch Light when he goes out, and have L hiding in the house and hanging out in Light's house. If L was that serious and really did think that Light was Kira, and he knew but he just couldn't prove it, this would be a far better option than doing what he did. Because we saw how smart Light was, we saw he was able to act and not allow L to prove that he was Kira. But technically speaking, everything Light did in Death Note was perfect to set him up to win. And L, there were a few mistakes he made, like the way he revealed himself, how early he revealed himself, and it just caused him to set up his own death. Also, I want to point out the fact that L's mindset going into this was a bit weird to me. It was like he never questioned, like I mentioned before, that there was anything supernatural involved until he found out Shinigamis were real. And I don't know, he didn't seem careful enough to me. I know he knows that Kira and Light both didn't know his name, but what if there was some way he didn't know that Kira could still kill him without a name, or if he had some type of supernatural power that he could use to find out his name. I just feel like the smarter move in that situation is to be more cautious, question things a little bit more, and be a little bit more iffy on things that you're not fully sure of. The only thing L had on his side since he encountered Light was the fact that Light couldn't write his name down and take him out because it would have made him look suspicious. It seems L bit off a little bit more than he could chew. If he had just been a little bit more careful, I feel things would have been far more likely on his side, and more likely he could have won. I also think L is a very intelligent character, but I think his actions reflect his personality and the types of intelligence that he's intelligent in and the strongest in, compared to the other types of intelligence that he's not as strong in. Like his social skills and his emotional intelligence, I would say, isn't quite as high as maybe some of his other types of intelligence. And I would also say his approach to things and his mindset wasn't as strong as it could be, which led to him not being careful enough. That's the difference between L and Light. Light is a far more careful person, it seems, than L. Light makes sure there's no way he's screwed. And I would say Light just seems more aware of everything, especially things that can hurt him. So I just think that's a big part of why L lost. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments. How do you think L could have won? Do you agree with me? What are some other ways you think L could have had a better chance of winning? What are some things you think L did wrong? And I'll see you in the next video.